All right, now we're going to start with a topic that's dear to my heart and also for Arctic Startup. If you guys don't know, we are organizing also deep tech specific events, and it's something that we're seeing as a really important topic for us. So now I'd like to open the deep tech track first with this panel about the purpose of deep tech, start off with why we're doing this. And now I'd like to welcome my esteemed panelist, Lotta Partanen, Manager of Incubation Acceleration at VTT. Give her a hand. And then Anton Adamovitch, reigning from Latvia, Commercialization Reactor Managing Partner. And last but not least, Tommi Ullgren, Angel Investor, represent ATRA Innovations, Professional Mentor for Startups. All right, yeah, have a seat, guys. All right, so Vera was kind enough to just get our blood flowing a little bit, right? So now, I want to take a little moment for everyone, just close your eyes. Close your eyes, please. Take a few deep breaths. We're at a startup conference. We're hustling, we're bustling. I've been working all morning, little sleep, so let's just have a few breaths before we start. All right. Everybody feel centered? All right, cool. Now, let's talk about money. All right, so this is the purpose of deep tech. Now, first, I'd like to introduce first Lotta. Lotta is an innovation designer with 15+ years of experience working in big corporations like Nokia, Fortum, Philips, Microsoft, and now with VTT, doing really important work on the technical research side and incubating and commercializing these important scientific startups. She has 2 master's degrees in arts and design, actually, and she's a lover of arts, tech, and business, and that combination, I think it's really fascinating. Then we have Anton, who is 2-time founder in biotech and now managing partner at Commercialization Reactor in Latvia. They've been doing deep tech for 15 years. I mean, that became a buzzword, I think, last year. Now it's the 2nd fastest growing sector in Europe, but 15 years, think about that. So OGs from Latvia, and now also working with many EU projects, connecting different innovation ecosystems and trying to develop the deep tech space in general. And he has a dream to create a deep tech plus culture experience as a nomadic caravan across Europe. And I know I'll be joining whenever that happens, and hopefully I can contribute. And then Tommi Ullgren, professional mentor for startup founders. So if you need some mentoring, he's a 6-time founder and angel investor, supporting transformative entrepreneurs through ATRA Innovations, a purpose-driven international alliance. They focus on scalable, regenerative technologies, so technologies that are actively regenerating, I think people and planet, I would imagine. And as a hobby, Tommi is a Finnish sauna ambassador, and I've had the privilege to be there in a sauna with Tommi, where he's doing some very special spiritual work. Very nice. Hey, nice mustaches, guys. Is that a deep tech thing? I think so. So, for the past 20 years, we've seen, on aggregate, this booming tech industry from Silicon Valley of building like hyper-growth startups as fast as possible, kind of be created as a blueprint to take over to the rest of the world. And during that time, we've seen this tech sector become increasingly financialized. I know VCs don't see it as a problem, but from the perspective of solving global challenges, it could be a paradox, right? So, it started as this method of creating real value in society, and now not every company. I mean, it's debatable. Is every company creating value in society? And I think that's the question we want to always bring up and keep in mind. Like, why are we doing this, right? And in many ways, the original promise of technology and entrepreneurship has not been fulfilled, at least not entirely. I mean, if you look at the world right now, we have big problems with climate change, biodiversity loss, mental health, depolarization. These are the things that technology promised to solve. So what happened, right? I think this is questions that we want to start asking. And we need to address these, and we can find some of the solutions to address these problems from real, tangible scientific fields like biology, chemistry, physics. I think those are the fundamental basic research that happens, and bringing these innovations into society now from these fields, these scientific fields, and this is deep tech. So actually getting it into society and working in the economy and such. So now, I've been talking a little bit too much. I'd like to pose the first question for each of the panelists, maybe starting with Tommi from the side. Like, why deep tech? What is your purpose in deep tech, and why are you into it?
Very good. That's an excellent question. And when we look at transformative technologies or impact companies, deep tech is the road to scalability, so some solution which can be scaled globally. And deep tech is challenging. There are several systemic challenges in order to take some new technologies, either at first from the research and development to the market and then to scalability. So it's much more challenging than having a basic SaaS software which you just develop and sell. And my role as a mentor is then to pave the road for founders working on this challenging field. And I'm really here in the service to others to share some advice and knowledge.
What draws you to deep tech, Anton?
Well, deep tech, to me personally, is about reducing net amount of suffering in the world through technology. But the purpose itself is a beast with many faces. So for different people, different stakeholders, there might be additional important elements. For example, for scientists, the purpose of deep tech startup creation is to help their baby to see the light of the day. So, which is a very important thing. So, deep tech startup creation serves this purpose for scientists. For entrepreneurs, it's about spending their time, professional career, working every day on something that matters, something that has positive impact. For investors, it's, I believe, to invest in something that could change, also create a positive transformation in society and civilization via means of technology. But altogether, I believe it does reduce net amount of suffering in the world. So that's my take on this.
I love that you bring up that dichotomy of the scientist and the entrepreneur, because we can't avoid it. This is something that exists, and Lotta works with both as well, scientists and entrepreneurs. And what draws you to deep tech, Lotta? What do you see as the purpose?
Well, I came to a point 9 years ago where I needed to kind of decide what to do, where to aim my effort. And I'd probably been thinking about that already before, but at that point, it was really clear to me that, having worked in kind of consumer electronics for quite a long time, it was time for a change. I did not want to actually, I did not want to be involved in producing more like of high value waste onto market. That if you think they're like, the cycle of how long it's used and becomes obsolete, so that's one of the things, like, where do I make a difference in this world? How do I contribute to making a difference in this world? And so that, that's why personally, what my personal motivation of working in deep tech is. Yes.
I think that would probably be, I don't know, I think maybe I represent the young generation, and I have kind of living in a bubble, but I think many people would resonate with that type of answer, especially during this time. Yeah. So deep tech is obviously, we touched on it a little bit. Tommi mentioned that it's not this 5-year road to market and exit, right? So it's a different approach fundamentally to how you build startups, and these quick exits don't really exist. You might be working 15, 20 years on a startup, right? So that's why we have to start asking this question. It's like, if the purpose is not to make a quick exit, then, you know, what is it, right? So does that mean that the motivations of deep tech entrepreneurs are different from traditional startup founders? What do you think? Tommi, I'll ask you since you've worked with both, and I think you were also in the software space before.
Yeah. So in many cases, the deep tech or radical inventions startup starts from the inner call of a founder. They see a challenge in the world or problem in the world. They are either scientists or do-it-yourself engineers or people seeing the systemic challenge. And it's really then trying to do something impossible with limited resources and in a challenging environment. And really deep tech startups, they start from the purpose and trying to find the meaning for helping the people and planet. So it's a bit, quite often combined with impact and scaling the impact through the technology. And also the investment cycle is very, very different because many deep tech companies, they fail. So the nature of the business is that most likely the company is going to fail because of several obvious or non-obvious reasons. And also the term or how long the duration is for the building the startup, it's longer. Which means that as an investor, you're betting on low probability, high net value tickets, which are most likely going to fail. So that's a challenging environment.
What do you think, Lotta? Maybe I'll go for you. Do you think the motivations of deep tech entrepreneurs would be different than traditional?
Well, you know, I do believe that people have this sort of intrinsic motivation, you know, of wanting to kind of, for example, take, if you can say so, your destiny into your own hands, you know, and have an influence on how you live and, you know, what you do and how it, you know, affects the world. So I think when it comes to entrepreneurship, there's probably something like that inside, you know, of most entrepreneurs. However, what I see with scientists, you know, at least the ones that we see in the incubator, you know, I hear colleagues saying, look, you know, in order to see it come to the market, someone needs to do it. And so in this case, it should be me, you know, like yeah. Who else is going to do it? You know, so we have a valuable solution for solving a big problem, you know, and then if I don't do it, no one's going to do it, you know?
Right.
So that's,
right. Yeah.
You know, so almost like a sense of obligation in you know, some cases. And then others, you know, like want to kind of, you know, drive more of their own destiny in the sense that, look, okay, I've been doing this project work for all these years, you know, and now I want to take a next step, you know, like, you know, be more away from the consultancy and more in really like doing real stuff. Yeah.
That's a question. Yeah, I mean, you've worked so hard on this science.
Yes.
If I don't do it, who's going to do it?
Yeah, who's going to do it?
Who's going to do it? So it's almost also like,
yes.
You have a very strong connection with what you're building at that point.
Yes.
What do you think, Anton, from your experience? You worked with this.
I think that motivation for deep tech from entrepreneurial side is more focused on this mission-drivenness aspect. The rewards are more delayed, so it takes a bit different type of nerve. I don't want to try to say this is good, this is bad, this is more cool, this is less cool. But specifically being in the field for over a decade, you see the pattern of people who are coming from entrepreneurial side in this, you know, significant factor is mission-drivenness. For scientists, actually for them, the deep tech startup starts years before the startup. So, and for them, this urge to experience and understand beauty of nature through intellectual instruments, this is their mission. And therefore, only those kind of people could bring this technology to a certain level to go through all the research aspects of fundamental research aspects until they get to the technology readiness that the startup can be created on this. So I don't necessarily agree that deep tech startup takes 15 years or 10 years. I see that if streamlining the processes, which I can see as a tendency in Europe to really understand where the startup has to start, where the spin-off from university has to occur, and what type of people have to be in. And if you have all the smartly aligned instruments in place, then the deep tech startup from moment of creation to an exit could be as well 5 years or less. So it's not fast money for sure, but seeing the instruments that are being introduced into the community, we see the dramatic increase of speed of transformation from an idea stage to minimum viable product. And more stakeholders in European Union, Nordics, Baltics, wherever understand this.
I think that's a good point. Like we have, like why are we able to scale like digital technologies so fast? Many reasons, but obviously we have also created a lean startup model which everybody follows. What if we had like a deep startup model? It could accelerate greatly. So I think the more we work on how to accelerate deep tech, we could actually get it to market faster. It doesn't have to be the same long process that it was before if we put more focus there. So what do you think, Tommi? How does the approach change when you're starting to commercialize?
So when building the deep tech or radical invention startup, it's really about looking at the life cycle and also how the funding and resources are being injected to the project. Since in the beginning it might take a lot of basic research and incubation and checking the physics or even the laws of physics or whatever is needed for the company and the product to evolve. And then we have the scientist or engineer, and then we have an investor who have very different intentions. So typically the scientist wants to solve challenging problems in the world or help the people and humankind, and then the investor comes in and wants return for the investment and the certain cycle of the investment cycle to run during defined time. And this creates a challenge or tension in the team and in the life cycle of the company. And standard startup investment cycle, okay, now we raise the seed funding, we need to go to Series A, now we need to raise next funding. It always doesn't match the life cycle of the actual product or technology. And there's plenty of will for power, greed, jealousness, different kinds of human psychology challenges in this setup. And there are no easy solutions for this because each case is different. But for instance, I'm very much keen on steward ownership, platform cooperatives, open innovation, and also soft funding and grants, which enable this life cycle to go through naturally.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned steward ownership and cooperatives, different type of enterprise design models, which actually, if you tie it back into the topic we're talking about, the purpose, those are actually different enterprise design models that could allow a deep tech founder or any founder to kind of stay more close to their mission, to their purpose. So steward ownership, for people who don't know, it's that your company can be owned by a trust or a foundation that has the mission tied into the company. So even if you're making great returns, some of that profit, X amount, which is decided on an operating agreement, has to go towards serving that mission in some way. And cooperatives are member-owned companies. So basically, yeah, everybody that's working on it would be an owner, and I think that's a very interesting topic as well. But going back to that last question, which is the approach, and Lotta, I mentioned also the lean startup model. I have to put you on the spot a little bit because I know that VTT is using the lean startup model, which is the best one that exists. But is it something that you have to adjust at all with deep tech? It doesn't work, like it's not a how do you say, copy paste? It doesn't.
So what we say is that we use it kind of as the guiding principle.
Yeah.
However, when it comes to kind of the sort of science-based spin-off creation, the learning cycles, it's not like, in 3 weeks you have learnings, and then, continue or pivot or stop or, so it takes longer times to kind of get these results. However, what we take from there is, okay, so in the work that you do, aim to avoid waste. You know, and so try to direct your effort into really getting evidence on those critical assumptions that you should validate before doing anything else. So more like that essence of it.
Right. Yeah. The mindset.
The mindset.
The mentality you go
know,
to.
like maximize learning, accelerate learning, and minimize waste.
Yeah. Should be efficient to the point that you can.
Yes.
To speed it up, but you can't make it go so much faster.
Yes.
Right?
Because you can't go to the mall with a bunch of chocolate bars and validate your customer proposition. Yeah. You know, because this is, you know, like.
Yeah.
What's offered by many consultants, as you know, and it's, you know, it's very funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so
depends who you sell to. I mean, if that's your customer target group is at the mall, you know.
Yes, you know, but you know, if you're coming up with your new solution in hydrogen, or you know, or a nuclear power plant, you know, for district heating, or you know, you can't do it that way.
Yeah.
But the mentality.
Yeah.
You know, so that, you know, when you're assessing, you know, do you really need to do that work in the lab right now? Or should you first find out, do you have a willing customer? And, you know, the willing customer who's really interested and wants to partner with you, what is the case that you should be validating in the lab? You know?
Right.
So find out first, would you have that first paying customer?
Right.
And then do the lab work. And this is a difficult one, you know, because they'd rather go first to the lab and validate all possible cases, you know, and then go to the customer and talk, you know, and that's a waste.
Right. Okay.
That's clear waste.
So you are using lean startup model. It's not perfect, but it works to some extent, and you have to keep in mind, yes, it's about the purpose, but it has to work in business. There's customers, right? Someone needs to buy it and need to make sense.
Yes, and
Right.
And there needs to be the you know, the VC is willing to fund you, you know, because eventually they're likely to need tens or hundreds of billions, because they probably need a factory or plant, you know. So, you know.
But this is another part where I think I just spoke with Sebastian from Extantia, but he mentioned this, that you can get you can make pre-sales in deep tech, that you can't do with software, for example. So you could go out and get your customers first, pre-sell it with X amount of customers, and then you can be really attractive for an investor if you're already making sales before it's developed. Tommi, you had your hand up, so what's up?
Oh yeah, I was just confirming that lean startup is really good for radical inventions and new deep tech technologies, because it's really about this. Let's try and fail, let's try and fail, let's try and learn, let's try and validate, and then let's try and succeed, like with any good scientific experiment. So it's experimenting with the business model, with the technology, with the invention, with the market.
Absolutely.
Right. So taking the best parts of what we've been doing and applying it with these radical inventions. Now, you have something to add, Anton?
Yeah.
Please do.
One moment in this, you know, early phase of startups, communicating with market and understanding all this stuff, particularly in deep tech, the communication is a huge issue, because we are mixing oil and water here. Scientists, entrepreneurs, and also industrial partners and industrial gurus who can validate, and venture capitalists all have much more different mindsets that probably a person can imagine in the, you know, just thinking about it. So the message and understanding that, and to be able to translate the science to industry, all those kind of things, have to be really well considered, because the validation often fails because communication is not done at an important level in terms of its depth. So just another thing.
Yeah, plenty of different type of stakeholders with their own objectives. Now going to taking a
different cultures.
Different cultures. That's a good way to put it. They are people at the end of the day. So now taking like a macroeconomic view, talking about, you know, we started with why. Now I'd like to and we consensus could be that we try to solve big problems. So wicked problems, climate change, biodiversity loss. That's a lot of startups are working on that, not just deep tech ones. So now, do you think, I'll start with Tommi, do you think that purely scaling deep tech is enough to address wicked challenges?
That's part of the solution. We haven't seen yet silver bullet for climate change or several other wicked problems. We need to start from somewhere, checking new solutions, scaling existing already working solutions. And the most important thing in deep tech that it's absolutely fascinating to work on those technologies. And as we were talking earlier, they are challenging things, they are really tricky projects, which are a lot of fun for engineers, for scientists, for business owners. So go and try, go and fail, go and succeed.
Lotta, would you like to add? Is it purely through deep tech we can solve problems?
I think you do need the enabling environment. You know, you can't offer something to something that doesn't, you know, fit in. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think what we need also is like global or region-wide or national visions on, you know, like this is something that we need a solution for.
Yeah.
And these are the parts that will play into that. And here are the enablers. Now, bring your solutions in.
Right. So not just mission-driven entrepreneurs, but mission-driven economies.
Yes.
Mission-driven states. I'd like to bring up Mariana Mazzucato, one of my favorite economic thinkers. She wrote a book called Mission Economy, suggested. So, and she speaks about deep tech as well, scaling these technologies. What about Anton? What do you think? Is it purely deep tech enough?
Of course not. You can only solve with deep tech what you can solve with deep tech, like child mortality, infant mortality, cancer, all those kind of things can be solved with technology. Prolonging life, curing diseases. So those are things that we can solve with technology.
You think
but
so?
we can't solve we cannot solve greed, arrogance, and unethical consumption. All those kind of things. We can't solve it with deep tech. Therefore, the cultural aspect has to be considered at a very significant level. That's probably my take on this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what could be improved in our current innovation system to better address? I think we mentioned one mission-oriented approach. One thing that's been on my mind is this kind of goes with that is the portfolio thinking from like even a state side. So like we want to solve, you say cancer, or I guess you mean if someone has cancer to solve it, right? Because I think preventing cancer would be the best ideal, right? That would be a nice world. What do you guys think about this? Yes, please, Tom.
Yep. I think we should be moving more to non-rivaling models of working, meaning that there's not only one single startup or one single unit which tries to protect everything inside of itself because of the IPR, because of the investor, because of the immaturity of the founders, but to find ways to collaborate, innovate, do open innovation so that there are patents or technologies or inventions people can utilize and use. So there's a bigger group of people working on something, more brains focusing on that wicked problem, and then that can evolve to a good solution or scalable solution. And this needs also our economy to change and economical thinking to evolve, which might take some time.
Anyone like to add on that?
Yes. So the immediate things that could be done and have result is policy changes and collaboration between the stakeholders of deep tech, startup creation, and all those aspects with government, collaborations and dialogues and creation of new instruments to speed up the transition from technology readiness level 4 to 9, which is a very practical thing to do, which is an issue in deep tech that would allow the product to be as quickly ready for the market as possible. Because this would pour in new talent that are considering risks, when they choose what to do. We'll have more people solving global challenges with the means of technology. So that's about it.
Would Lotta like that? No.
I think it complements well. Yet another perspective. I think we need high ambition. You've heard me talk about it before, but I really believe that especially Finnish society, we have a lot of kind of humility, and humility is really great for being open to new learning. However, humility where it holds you back and does not allow you to perform or think big, I think that's where it's harmful. And I believe that when we have great solutions for the world's big problems, they should be brought to solve those big problems in the world.
Yeah, and I'd like to add maybe that we'd like to solve them for everyone.
Yes.
So we want ambition is great, innovation is great, but then we also should be ambitious about democracy, having these solutions be democratic, solving problems for everyone, not just some people, right? And evenly distributed across the world, because that's how we, at the end of the day, address these problems, not just through being super ambitious in our small sector, right? Yeah.
But on a positive note, democratization of deep tech is happening. It's happening for the past 40, 50 years, because previously technologies were something that big corporations, for example, in pharmaceutical companies, were doing internally. So there were no people from the side that could get there. With, let's say, the venture capital culture, and with first cases of spin-offs being put to a scale, this allowed significant improvement in democratization of the processes. Also, internet in the 90s changed the game a lot. So now everybody can come to deep tech. All you need to do is to find the right hub to, gravitate yourself towards. And afterwards, you'll just have all the knowledge that is important to make a cautious decision to make this step towards creating and contributing towards knowledge-based economy.
Good point. Yeah, Tommi?
And we are really in the middle of scientific revolution. We are in the middle of technological revolution, and we are in the middle of conscious evolution of the humankind. And we are really moving from our brain to our heart and changing the worldview of the people in quantum physics, conscious research, new technologies for holistic well-being, different kinds of things, which means that next 10 years will be absolutely fascinating time to work on these technologies and new solutions. So fun to be alive and human being on the planet Earth.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks, Tommi. Thank you, Anton. Thank you, Lotta. Awesome. All right. Time for us to move off the stage. Allow the next panelists.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.